So the next question is from Susan. Is an SDE also possible in a situation of euthanasia? That's a powerful. How about you, Raymond? Do you want to take that one?
I say absolutely, it's possible. I haven't heard such a case like that, but you know, all the other surrounding circumstances, why would that particular circumstance be any different? I mean, I would just say, yeah, I don't know of any reports, but I mean, once this gets started, it's a regular, I mean, I think it'll just be happening on a fairly regular basis. It's my conjecture.
So when you say surrounding circumstances would be similar, what exactly are you thinking when you say that? I'm just curious.
We don't know exactly. I mean, it's hard to delineate the surrounding circumstances, right? In the sort of case that we sort of focus on, it's right there at the bedside. And then, you know, it also leaks out to people across the world or across the country. And you know, I mean, at a certain point, I mean, I just hear this so much. So, I mean, the basic answer is I don't know, but those are some of my thoughts.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. How about you, William?
Yes. So once again, I concur with Raymond on this, that I don't think that euthanasia, or to use the terms that are being used in our culture, medical aid in dying is what it's now called. And I think as many as 13 states have this option for people at the end of life, satisfying certain criterion to use that option. And we have that in our research. We have, in fact, I would, if people are interested in reading a case about this in At Heaven's Door, my book, the case with Sonia Fairbanks and Denny, which is an amazing case. Sonia is in Massachusetts and Denny is exercising the California option to use medical aid in dying. But Sonia does not know that Denny is exercising this option. And she goes to sleep very early. In fact, she says, I'm knocked out at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, like never happens to me. She goes into sleep and she sees Denny. And then she has this beautiful journey. We call this an accompaniment. And actually in this case, a guiding SDE. This is a type of, this gets beyond the scope of what we're discussing, but in this situation, Sonia is guiding and accompanying Denny upwards through the heavenly realms and eventually into a resting place with a welcoming party and all the rest of it. But what's interesting about this SDE, which we've seen in a few other cases, is that when Denny and Sonia, Sonia being the shared death experiencer, arrive at this party, this feast that she describes, a feast for Denny's arrival, they're early. In other words, the party isn't quite ready. The food isn't ready. The dancers and performers were supposed to be there. And they're talking about, oh, she's here. We weren't expecting her. Oh, so I'm just saying this is curious. Here it is, someone who is having an SDE with an example of euthanasia, of medical aid in dying. And yet one of the characteristics is that there's a sense that they've arrived a little bit earlier, which begs the question, do we all have an expected time, predestined time in some way? I mean, that's a bold statement, but it's a question. And it wasn't like there were any problems that Denny was arriving early. There's no violation of any code of any kind. It's just that Sonia said, it felt like we were a little bit early and they weren't quite expecting us. So I just marvel at it, like, well, what does that mean? You know, so these are huge questions about, the cosmology, if you will, around death and dying.
Great.
Yes. So neat about this, William and Lisa, because what we're on here is a sort of collective activity, and we have sort of stepped out into stuff that we just have not much rational basis for computing. And so one really interesting thing about this whole endeavor we're in is that it's a collective endeavor, right? I mean, in order to cross that barrier in the mind or reality between this life and the next life, we got to do it collectively. I mean, individual mystics may have it, but to bring along a articulation system to make sense of it is going to require collective participation.
That's a good point. Thank you.
And which we're all doing right now.
Right? We're happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
And I mean, everybody listening to this is part of this. It's a collective endeavor to try to make sense of something that makes no sense within the wonderful logical system that we have. Thank you, dear Aristotle, and thank you, Wittgenstein and Whitehead and Russell and all those people. And I'm sure now they realize that, you know, it's not enough to get to where we want to go.